LPT, when learning a new language, just speak. Don't be afraid, it's okay to make mistakes. Go on different apps and find people to talk to in the language you're learning. It's free and will help a lot. The problem is, when you do this in a country where many people speak very good English, and then people try to make your life easier by speaking English to you instead of their language. Even though, despite the fact you struggle, you would prefer speaking in their language for the purposes of learning. Source: traveled through Germany for a few weeks and didn't make enough progress in my German skills because of extremely nice people speaking in English. As soon as they ascertained I wasn't a native German speaker. Ugh, yeah, that's why I'm hoping to really work on my German before moving there so I can blend right in as another German. Du ist schwierig, aber ich mag es. German is tough, but I like it. Richtig, ich lerne es auch. Mit Duolingo. Ich lerne etwas langsamer. Was lernst du mit? Probably bad German. Please correct me. Close bracket. Just correcting. No, mit Duolingo. Ich lerne es etwas langsam. Womit lernst du? Have fun with learning. Just correcting, spotted the native. I definitely agree, building confidence is the key. My Spanish is way better when I'm buzzed. There is a sweet spot with alcohol for quite a few things like this. The best man's wedding toast after 2 drinks is great. Much better than he could have done completely sober. But man, if he took it too far, 4+ starts to risk disaster. There really is a XKCD about everything. Link: xkcd.com/comics/bulmer_peak. PNG. Foreign language teacher with Ma in foreign language education here. The biggest indicators of success I see in my students are comfort with ambiguity and low/no shame. If you're comfortable not understanding every single thing and not ashamed to speak, you'll learn more and be able to do more with the language. Taking a language class and talking to other learners is great practice, as long as you're both dedicated to practicing and not sitting there laughing uncomfortably. Sometimes talking to native speakers can feel too overwhelming, and that's okay. Pushing yourself outside your comfort zone is okay too, especially in low stakes. Throwaway interactions, asking for directions, buying something at a convenience store, etc. Close bracket. You basically ticked all my boxes, honestly. You really have to take the initiative. Any app recommendations? So I use Italki and there should be another called Tandem. These are more for practicing verbally, which I think is important and just immersing yourself. There might be some that wants to speak English as well, but you guys can work something out. i.e., you talk in their language and they respond in English, etc. I can recommend Tandem as well. Although while I went on with the intention of finding a French speaking partner, I also listed German and Mandarin as languages I wanted to learn as well. I ended up with a Chinese person with a basic understanding of English wanting to learn Spanish. Both my partner and I have become more comfortable speaking each other's native languages despite having a very limited vocabulary. You can also comment on their speech and correct any writing mistakes your partner might make, and they can do the same. LPT, have a couple drinks and then practice. When you lower your inhibitions and your brain gets out of the way, you will be surprised how much you know. The more you hear in language, it makes it easier to speak, rather than sitting and learning it like a subject. Comprehensible input, my mans. I'll learn French on Duolingo. Living in Ireland, where can I find places/apps to talk to people in French? HelloTalk is pretty good. I find it cute for someone trying to learn my language. OFC, this works. I went to France several times between 1996 and 2000 as a high school student. The first time, I was able to very shakily order a crepe in the Louvre food court, despite the very nice man offering to speak English. The last time I went, I ordered food at a street vendor, and was able to hold a brief conversation that yes, the man who wanted UN hot dog Sylvaus Platt was my dad, and that he definitely didn't speak French. I'm sure everything is much easier now with apps, but I appreciated how much nicer and more helpful people were when I tried to speak their language, even if I butchered it. Haha. That's so funny XD. That's pretty much how it is nowadays everywhere else around the world. Ordering something or asking directions, etc. The locals will definitely love it that you're trying hard to learn. I just learned recently that Google Sheets integrates their translate feature. Enter equals GOOGLETRANSLATE, cell number, N, XX, where XX is the abbreviation of your target language. Of course it should be cross-check for accuracy, but in instances where you don't have a dictionary or the words are too specialized to be in the basic dictionary, it is definitely a huge help. For example, when my non-English speaking grandmother goes to doctor appointments, I go with her and will act as a translator. But that means understanding how to translate specific medical terminology like symptoms, conditions, diseases, procedures, etc. into her language. Something new for me as well. It's so weird though, because I know in some languages the terminology could be loan words or words that sound similar to the illness/disease. Hope your grandmother is doing okay. Thank you. She's 90 and thus has the problems you'd expect of someone that age. But she is still feisty. I try so hard to explain this to my students. That's why I make a point to allow myself to make mistakes in front of them, to try to make them feel more comfortable doing the same. I remind them too that they don't speak English perfectly all the time either, so there's no shame in not speaking Spanish perfectly either. I say this all the time. My cousin came from Jordan and was embarrassed to speak English with me. I told him it's okay to mess up. Don't be embarrassed. It's how we learn. When I speak to him in Arabic, I sometimes make a mistake, and when he corrects me, I use that as an example of why he shouldn't be afraid to speak in English. Has gotten much better because of it, and even asks me definitions of words he hears in movies when he doesn't recognize them. Among other more significant reasons. This is one reason why babies are better language learners than adults. They don't really get embarrassed or have shame. They just babble on and make sounds until they get it right. And we fucking love it and encourage them to do it. Definitely do this, but also remember to be respectful. I had times where people ended up talking to me only for me to be their private tutor. A lot of work and not a job I signed up to do for free. All the conversations, where was the masking huge strings of questions? Remember to just try to talk normally. Make a friend, not a teacher. If you are struggling with something, go to Google first, and if you still are unsure, then ask the person, and make sure you show that you are thankful. Yes, totally on point. I'm sorry but I can't. I take the time to look up the translation. Make sure I get what I'm going to say right. And my in-laws just look at me like, what? Yeah, I'm never speaking Spanish again. Example of apps. I'm from France. I have good English writing skills, but every time I have to speak it is more difficult. Hello Talk is really good. Sorry if this is not appropriate here, but how do I get karma? I thought it was by posting and getting likes, but I just tried to post and Reddit won't let me cause I don't have any karma. This is my life. But it can backfire. My wife is Spanish. We met in Madrid when I used to live there, and she moved to the US. My Spanish was never great, but it got real rusty, so we started going to Spanish restaurants every Friday to practice. One day I dropped my fork, and trying to explain that to the owner's wife who worked there and is a friend, I instead said I shit myself. The fork. She was confused and horrified. Quite embarrassing, but you get back on the horse. Adding to this, people who speak the language, don't make fun of people who are struggling with it. Gotten that way too much to the point where I just stopped learning the language. I regret it now. Close bracket. Duolingo. It works. I tried to do this in Japan. One guy's reaction seemed to read as, what the fuck is this crazy white bitch trying to say? Is she even attempting Japanese? And the other one, I think, was horrified a girl was talking to him. Or maybe it wasn't even a girl thing, but a person was talking to him. The poor thing looked like he wilted as I tried talking to him. I ended up not attempting any more Japanese after that. Lol. Just played charades the rest of the time and sometimes found English speakers. Also, everyone told me in the US, oh yeah, they all speak English over there. That was definitely not my personal experience. Only at some of the hotels. But that was it. I'm taking up American Sign Language. And it's one of those things where I've got to sign while I speak. Even at home where everyone else doesn't know it. Because I'm really quick to brain dump the signs. Only reason I'm not fluent in Sonish is because every time I speak it my crappy accent gets made fun of. Every time. So I'm too self-conscious and it really sucks because all I need to be fluent is to get better at talking. Had some people come into my place of work who were from Japan. I wanted to talk with them. But the instant they said yes I'm from Japan I forgot how to speak English and Japanese. Whenever I encounter a non-native English speaker I always commend them on learning a second language and never ridicule them for simple mistakes. I'm sure if it were me talking in a second language I would mess up way more than they do. You say that. But my BF laughs hard at me when I mess up. I speak English with a background in French. So many words are the same or similar between the two, but pronounced completely different. I struggle hard with languages to begin with. I really want to learn Spanish, but every time I go for it, I'm greeted with laughter. I'm pretty sure he just finds my efforts adorable, but it's hella frustrating. Considering taking a class to learn formally would be easier and faster than my current efforts. Plus, would be a great aspect for my resume. Just don't try it in Paris. They seem to hate you more if you try and speak French. This tip is well intentioned but it amounts to don't experience anxiety, which is a silly thing to say. Second language anxiety is a well documented and studied phenomenon. I agree. I just started talking in English. I mean, I completely understand when someone talks with me in English or when I read something, but I'm pretty bad at talking. But today I started to have some confidence and things are going pretty well. Anyway, if someone there speaks Polish or Greek I'd love if you could talk to me and teach me a thing or two about these amazing languages. Hey, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.